From Hollywood, California, this is SMPTE 2016 Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hello and welcome to 2016 SMPTE Live. Today we have three very special guests. The first one is Brad Jorgensen, Senior Vice President of Worldwide Operations at Electus International. How you doing, Brad?
I'm good.
Excellent. We also have John Allen Simon, President and CEO of Discovery Productions and owner of Discovery Productions Incorporated. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good morning.
All right. We also have Kenneth Yas. We know this guy very well. We've spoken to him at many shows. WCP Media. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Once again, welcome to Southern California.
All right, thanks. So Ken, why don't we start with you? Could you tell us a little bit about your background and your current activity?
Well, my current activity is as Managing Director of WCP Media Services, and I've had fairly extensive background in production and post-production, and ended up with a company that is now a platform as a service, because it represents to me one of the last great frontiers of the digital pipeline for media and entertainment. Delighted to be there. And the two gentlemen on either side of me represent users of the system, guys who have actually been practitioners of WCP. And I'm just happy to be in the audience listening to them talk about it for a change, because I'm always talking about it.
All right, so Brad, tell us about Electus International.
Electus International is an international distribution company. We have about 150 titles in our library, and we sell to broadcasters all over the world.
Great. John Allen Simon, tell us about what you do.
Well, we do a lot of things. Primarily, we're content creators. I'm a screenwriter and producer, and I directed an indie-financed feature of a Philip K. Dick novel called Radio Free Album. But Philip K. Dick wrote Blade Runner, Minority Report, Scanner Darkly, and Man in the High Castle. But we also have a distribution arm and distribute movies like Dennis Hopper's Out of the Blue, which was one of Roger Ebert's favorite films. And we also consult to companies, sometimes like Ken's, but also to other independent producers.
Excellent. So what is the difference in handling directly with your people the distribution of your contents versus being dependent from external labs to perform this activity?
Well, I'll answer that.
Sure.
Thank you, Brad.
Having a digital asset management system that we can control what's on the platform, how it gets to our buyers, just gives us a little bit more efficiency in how we can actually deliver the content to our buyers. So many different kind of buyers around the world. VOD platforms, OTT, those types of platforms now are requiring, types of delivery that having a digital asset management cloud platform makes it a lot easier to get things to them on time.
Okay, so John, how are you guys handling your assets before moving to the cloud?
Well, we found, I'll actually answer his question also. We found our way to WCP in a very unique way. We had a problem, which was that we had raised funds through crowdfunding for the theatrical release of our movie in the US, because we're very conscious of the paradigms of distribution being broken. And while we were interested in the asset management aspect of WCP, we worked with WCP. They actually collaborated with us to find a solution to the problem of how we could make the movie available to our Kickstarter backers ahead of traditional distribution in a secure way that was also end user oriented. And it's just gone over beautifully. I mean, we had about 1,000 worldwide backers of our funding, and they're all enjoying an unlimited secure stream of Radio Free Album now, and we're working with Ken to bring in other filmmakers who need kind of an end-to-end solution. That's what's great about WCP. It's still a work in progress, and they're extremely collaborative with content creators and content owners to find answers for our needs. And we look forward to working with them in production, distribution, and really in getting our content to end users too.
Excellent. So Brad, what prompted you to seek out alternatives to traditional stores?
Like I said, speed, efficiency, cost, and really control of our own content as opposed to having it, in the hands of an outside lab or somebody else doing it for you. We have to turn things around real quickly, often. So, that gave us the ability to do that, as well as brought our cost down.
Okay, so what factors went into selecting your current platform? John.
Well, the factor that mainly went into it was we were amazed when we found out that there really is no efficient, cost-effective way for independent filmmakers to DRM protect a movie. Who would have guessed? So it kind of launched me. I'm a former reporter and investigative journalist, so I kind of went on a quest to find what our options were. And I've known Ken from his post-production career earlier, and we really worked together to find a way that cost-effectively would allow us to deliver a bank security level stream of the movie into territories where the movie has not been released yet. Because independent film, one of the great problems is you can't do what studios do and release a movie worldwide all at the same time. There's still this very cumbersome early 20th century model, mid 20th century model of selling territory by territory. And what's great about WCP is that being cloud-based and being kind of very both user-friendly and client-friendly, you can find applications that might otherwise not be there and really don't exist to a large extent. They're really, you can't use Vimeo or YouTube for this, which is or Dropbox. There really is no way. And we found something we think that's really exciting in working with WCP and want to bring in clients to them just because we're such believers.
All right, so Brad, how do you use this platform in your work exactly?
Primarily we use the platform for moving large files from our server to somebody else's server. Actually, from our server to the cloud, which is WCP, and then use that to disseminate our shows to broadcasters all over the world. And different broadcasters have different levels of sophistication in terms of their technology. We needed a platform that could kind of handle somebody that, maybe has slow internet connection all the way up to somebody who has, a high speed or server-to-server connection. We do a little bit of transcoding, we do a little bit of encoding, but really the ability to move these large files that we deliver around the world is the primary function that we use.
Okay, so I apologize earlier, I called it storage, and it's because I was in a discussion with Ken, and we were talking about storage a little earlier, but this is, Ken, go ahead and elaborate more about what WCP Media does, just a little more in detail so our folks can understand it.
It represents, to me anyway, having seen a bunch of these things, an end-to-end solution for the uploading, storage, management, transcoding, and delivery of high-value content in a business-to-business environment. And there are individual solutions available that you can access, but to orchestrate all those ad hoc variations together and make them work in one place, which still a lot of production companies are doing, distribution companies are doing, can be, as John aptly pointed out, fairly cumbersome and awkward. Consequently, we have kind of a total solution. On the other hand, it's accessed by different end users in different ways. John is using the system to securely promote and market his content, and I hope will continue to do so in future projects. Brad is using it for large file transfer, and we have a UDP-based transfer protocol built in. We have both Signia and Inspira built into the system, and is accessed directly into by the system by the end user, so it's fully integrated. So it's kind of this overall solution for the digital pipeline on the distribution side. I mean, we've seen production go digital, we've seen post-production go digital, we've seen visual effects go digital. All of those have had an adoption curve of about 10 years. We're still, as John aptly pointed out, a work in progress because we're early on in the adoption curve. Brad is an early adopter. I've known Brad even prior to this, and he envisioned a solution to this problem several years ago, and I think to some degree this is satisfying that need, but we've got a way to go, and we hope that the industry finds us to be the ultimate solution. As Andrew Carnegie once said, or Napoleon Hill for Andrew Carnegie once said, first guy to the oyster gets the pearl, second guy gets the shell. we'd like to be the first total solution for distribution. We're a platform as a service, I guess, is the short answer to your question.
Okay, so is it's an application, and is it easy to use? Does it require special skills?
Well, I'm going to rely on my two clients here to answer that question.
It's extremely easy to use, which is one of the things we like about it. And they're also, I think, dedicated to making it easier and easier to use for clients and for people who we're delivering to, who ultimately we will deliver the movie to television stations and distributors worldwide. But at the moment, we're just delivering it to ordinary people who backed us with, $100 or $1,000 contribution to our crowdfunding campaign. And they don't know about technical, although some of them do. And it's just proved a really easy and simple solution for allowing them to preview the movie. And as an independent filmmaker doing a modestly, efficiently budgeted science fiction film, we were working with upwards of 30 hard drives, for the movie. And ultimately, if we were doing it now, we would be putting all this content on WCP. And going forward for all of the science fiction, fantasy, and horror projects, that we have a very ambitious slate of material that we're in the process of developing and funding from other important writers in the genre. We see ourselves being able to have this as an end-to-end solution, that in production we're using it for dailies and for delivery to people around the world who have to see it. We had an English composer on our movie. It would have been very efficient for him to be able to work with files and for us to transport files while we were doing the music on Radio Free Albemuth. But going forward, this is a way to be able to really create a one-stop solution for filmmakers like myself. And there's a lot of people like us who are really struggling to find the bits and pieces. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You could argue that there are places that can do one aspect of it, perhaps in a maybe in a better way or a more focused way. But it also is a platform that allows you to do everything. And to me, that's the most advantageous aspect of it.
So Brad, I'm just curious, as far as delivery speed, process control, savings of dollars, how's that affect your business?
Well, it affects us, in big ways. Obviously, everybody's, for the most part, has clients. Our clients are broadcasters and people who buy our television shows. We are providing them a service, and we want them to come back and continue to buy shows from us. So our service has to be efficient, and that's what WCP was developing. That was really, part of the conversations that Ken, the development team, and I had was, this has got to be easy to use. It's got to be quick. It's got to be efficient. We delivered to broadcasters all over the world, from the ITVs, the Discoveries, Nat Geos, all the way to very small television stations in Southeast Asia. So we needed a solution if we were going to use it on a large scale that was that anybody could use. And besides for the efficiencies that it gave us, it gives our clients the efficiencies of being able to go into the platform, click a button, and download their shows. Really made it that simple, and it affects our business because it makes our clients happy.
All right, so Ken, I'm sure you have some competitors out there. Yeah. How do you compare? How does your organization compare to others that do something
honestly,
similar?
I'll tell you, Ryan, I can honestly say that I haven't seen one that represented as complete a solution as ours. As John correctly pointed out, there are some that may address storage or file transfer or asset management in a more focused and deliberate way, but none that bring it all together in one place. We can orchestrate all of these functions if you want to, or use them individually. And from a price standpoint, we compare very favorably, especially now that we're delving into new areas which include acquisition through post-production. Originally, the platform was designed exclusively for the distribution of finished programming, but now we're reaching into dailies movement and providing editable content to editorial. And in that respect, I would have to say that when you understand the system and what its capabilities are, and then compare the pricing of our system versus the most popular ones that are out there today for production, again, we compare favorably.
All right, so John, I'm curious, are there features of the system from WCP Media that maybe you're not using and you could employ in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be delivering our movie to the same kinds of customers that Berat is delivering to for Electus, and ultimately we'll use the system that way as well. And when we're in production, we'll be using it for dailies and for secure storage. I mean, to me, the security aspect of it is really important because normally on a movie, when you're in production or when you're delivering it to end customers, you can be very controlling of access. But when you're in this sort of middle phase, like when you want critics to see your movie when you're in distribution, or you want financiers to see your movie, that's when you really need to be careful with your content. And because we're a Philip K. Dick movie that has this very engaged political kind of audience, science fiction audience, we said, figure out some ways to download it, to hack it, when we just want you to stream it. And none of our fans and collaborators could find a way to do it. So that was great. Everywhere else we looked, within about 5 minutes they were able to download it, even when we had the download privileges turned off on other systems.
All right, so do you guys see the adoption of these services expanding for content owners, producers, and distributors? I guess any of you guys could comment.
I say yes, absolutely. Just like John said, I mean, there's a lot of independent producers out there. There's a lot of people who are making content, creating content. That gives them an opportunity to actually share their content, produce their shows, and do it in a way where traditionally they may have gone to third-party facilities to provide these services. So I think it puts a lot of control of the production and the distribution really in the hands of the creatives who are creating content and trying to get in front of people's eyes.
Excellent. Well, that was Brad Jorgensen again, Senior Vice President Worldwide Sales at Electus International. Also Kenneth Yas, WCP Media. Always a pleasure having you. And John Allen Simon, President and CEO of Discovery Productions and owner as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. This is another edition of 2016 SMPTE Live. I'm your host, Ryan Salazar, and we'll see you soon.